So you may have heard me throughout the course of Fantastic Fest thanking our many wonderful sponsors. First and foremost, in our hearts at least, is Sony PlayStation. And we've got on the stage today Nick Sutner of Developer Relations, who
Hello.
is... How many times have you been to Fantastic Arcade?
5-ish?
Yeah, so like
4-ish?
one less than exist.
Maybe 4.
Yeah. So we don't have to encourage him to come back here. He's just like, hey, here I am. And he's a super cool dude, and we love him. And
I love you too.
oh, that's really. We just had a moment up here. Everybody, a warm round of applause for Nick.
Hello. Is Elisa in here as well? Or no? She is. There she is. Elisa's also with me at Sony too. And 2 more folks whose pictures I have in this presentation, but they're in a movie because they're jerks. I'm going to take this thing out. Yeah, so I just added the slide because that's pretty important. I forced cookies on Salim from co-op mode during the Arcane Kids talk, and he did not regret them, so you're not going to regret the cookies. And it'd be sort of funny if they have to like make a whole bunch of cookies at once for no reason. I don't know why, so anyway. Yeah, that last talk, Arcane Kids talk, was really good, and mine's not going to be anywhere near that entertaining. It's more like edutainment, maybe, or just informational. So, yeah, and thanks to Wiley and everyone for having us. Again, we really appreciate the invite every year, and this is one of the more fun festivals from us to come do, and we go to a lot of them. So, yeah, thank you. So this is sort of the premise of this talk. Usually we just talk about our self-publishing process and how to get licensed and the process side of things. But recently, us who do the talks and just talk about that stuff in general have gotten a little bit bored of that. And usually we've talked to like half the room already. So also we figured, especially in light of lots of recent discussions about some concerns around being an indie dev, that we wanted to share some platform learnings, basically, like things that we've seen to like set yourself up for success. So we figured we'd pass along some of those. And I'm also we're doing one of the keynote talks at IndieCade next month, which will be sort of a more robust version of that. So honestly, like, I figured I'd try it out here and see what you guys think. I'd love feedback. Feel free to like yell things out. Come talk to me afterward. I'd love to like add a few quotes from developers if you found any of that stuff helpful or experienced it yourself. So that would be great too. So this is sort of a first draft of that. And PR is like supposed to approve my slides before I show them, but they didn't get back to me today. So I'm still going to show them, and this might be the last talk I ever give. So we'll see. And how many of you guys have like seen our basic spiel or pitch before, just so I have some sense of that? Raise your hand if you've like seen a talk of ours before or are pretty familiar with that process. Okay, good. Most of you haven't. That's good. So this will actually be helpful. So I've condensed that sort of informational side of it mostly to this slide. This is sort of the basics of what we do, who we are, and I'll walk through these points. It's a lot of bullet points, and it's really ugly, so I'm sorry. But basically, we do developer outreach at events like this and all over the place, and licensing to help you get licensed to set up to self-publish on PlayStation across PS4 and Vita and well, it was Morpheus, which is now called PlayStation VR. Yeah, PSVR. I keep writing it as PSTV in all these presentations. No good. Anyway, so the point is that on PlayStation, you're the publisher, right? You set the price and release date. You don't have to release first on PlayStation. We don't care if you release first on other consoles. It's not a big deal. Obviously, it can be sort of a bum out for like PlayStation gamers if they feel like they're getting, they're like the last ones to play the game. But it's not a policy thing of ours. We don't care. There's no licensing or submission or patching costs. So the idea is just to like make this relatively easy and frictionless. And well, there's still sort of an administrative friction of like doing the steps, but at least take most of the cost out of it. You have a dev kit loaner program, which includes PSVR. So once you're licensed, we can more than likely loan you a kit. So just come talk to us about that afterwards. We have Unity support and Game Maker and Monogame, at least on PS4. Vita also has Unity and I believe Game Maker support too, and Monogame's on the way. There's full Unity support for PSVR as well. And we have some basic co-marketing support that I think a lot of folks really benefit from that I think we do a pretty good job of, especially on the console platforms. Things like announcing your game on the PlayStation blog, which we can do in step with you and basically amplify your signal. We can put a trailer for your game on our YouTube channel. PlayStation Twitter account will tweet about it, which is a small thing, but there's, they have like 4 million followers. So all those little beats add up. Setting up a game detail page on PlayStation.com, which actually gets pretty well trafficked, and that can like link off to the game once it comes out. And we also have all sorts of other like deeper partnerships, funding options and higher levels of co-marketing support and all that for sort of the right game and things that excite us. So if you want to talk more about that, just come talk to us afterwards. We'll be here for the rest of the day and tomorrow and after the show. And I actually brought my business cards, I think, so come grab one if you want afterward. So just come talk to us about that. I won't get into all those options, but basically, like if you want to bring your game to PlayStation, but you can't for some reason or another, or you need help porting it, or you just need help walking through the process, or you need funding or whatever, come talk to us. So these are the folks that are here, whose pictures are still off Facebook, so hopefully Elisa's fine with that picture. I think it's a great picture. So me and Elisa and Julio and Matt, and again, they are in a movie right now because they're jerks, but they're seeing Laser Team, so it's probably pretty good. But we're all hanging around, so come talk to us, please. So how to get licensed is to go there, which I can send you afterwards, or if you just search Google for like PlayStation, developer licensing, that should come up. So it's sort of a web portal. You go and apply. The two basic requirements are being a business entity of some sort, which isn't crazy strict requirement, but it's probably for the best so that we're working with a company, not you as an individual. That's just sort of the best case legal setup for everyone's best interests. And then having a static IP so we can whitelist it for dev kit and access to our systems is a security thing you can't really get around. Though you can VPN into one, just buy one online. That way it can be like mobile and it's a lot cheaper. So that's sort of the one thing that can't change, which is a static joke. And yeah, so nowadays we used to have a bunch of separate like paperwork agreements. Now it's one big worldwide agreement, and it's long, but it covers all of our platforms in all of our worldwide regions in perpetuity. It also has like a tool loan verbiage so that we can loan you hardware. So basically covers everything. You like sign one big thing. It's the same, Indie sign the same thing that EA signs. It's just one standard agreement. And if you do apply, tell us so that we can flag it, because right now the portal is meant for like people coming in out of the blue. So we sort of got to vet everyone and make sure you're not going to like put a dev kit on eBay. So just tell us if you apply, if we've met you in person or anything, so that we can say, cool, they're on the level, and let's just expedite that. So that's pretty much it for the self-publishing process. Usually that would be over a lot more slides, but I want to get to the sort of tips and trick stuff, and also so we can play a game later. So any basic questions about this stuff, by the way? We can do questions at the end, but anything while we're sort of talking about this as far as process things? No. Awesome. Okay. It's pretty simple. And again, we have like a bunch of folks on our team and back at the office too who can like walk you through all that stuff. So there's probably about 20 hours of administrative work of actually getting the game published and getting it submitting through QA and requesting network services and all that stuff. But it takes place over the course of months going through the process. But it's not too bad, and we've made it a lot better these days. So we've learned some things, I think, over the past few years. Sony's whole like indie friendliness thing, which I'm pretty proud of and to be a part of that. But it is a real thing that's happened in that several of us have sort of formed this modern version of our developer relations team to really fight for smaller, more interesting games that we care a lot about. And, we've seen a lot of games come out, some of which are big hype games and some of which don't have any sort of profile, and they just sort of release and come out and very quietly go away, which is really sad because a lot of them are great. But I think a lot of that is just sort of about bringing the right attitude to releasing a game, not just on our platform. This is for not just other console platforms either, pretty much anywhere, Steam or iOS or whatever. So these are just a few of the things that I think we've learned, and I'll drill down into each a bit. Sort of to set yourself up for success. And again, this isn't sort of like blanket, can be applied to every situation. Everyone's different. Every game launch is different. But maybe these are helpful. And shout out anything you want if you want to contribute or argue with me or whatever, because that would be cool to talk about. So yeah. And I just made these like yesterday, so we'll see. So this, I think, is a pretty important one. Finding a champion. I think that people maybe don't think about this enough. Whether it's at your platform, at your publisher, if you have a publisher, or in the press, like find someone who's really going to fight for your game and really cares about it because they care about it, not because it's their job to do so. I think there's a pretty big difference. And I like to think, on our side, PlayStation at least, like, you're talking to us and we're continuing the conversation because we care about your game. We want you to bring it out, not just, we don't sort of care if Sony makes money from that game. Theoretically, we care about more gamers getting to try your game and about you making money. Sony making money is just like the nice upside for us working there, right? So this is important, though. This can, again, come from a couple different places. People like myself, like within a platform that I'm going to push for your game and have it top of mind whenever opportunities come up, whether, it's at events or there's a whole host of things, or that sort of social media support I talked about, just all different opportunities throughout the year that when those opportunities come to our team, everyone on the team has their own games that they're working on top of mind. So that's pretty important, I think. This can also come, in the press, like, don't underestimate the fact that if someone in the press, especially at a larger side, loves your game, like, you can't over communicate to them, basically, like keep them up to date with everything because they're going to be this awesome evangelist somewhere. So this is super important. I think this is the most important one, actually, from my experience, but we'll keep moving. And this is true for every platform, I think, by the way. I mean, this I'm sure is, equally important for like Apple, someone at Apple to care about curating your game and featuring it on the store. Like that's only happening because someone cares about that game and thinks it can do well and reach a wider audience. And Steam as well, everywhere. So this is important, obviously, but like have a plan, have a development and a release plan, share your release plan, keep in touch. In this case, I mean with like me and your platform, but also be open to changing it. I think, and by have a plan, I just mean like it's one thing sort of making your game off, by yourself somewhere for a couple of years and then coming out of the woodwork to try to do something with it on a release when oftentimes it can be too late. And that leads to that bummer scenario that I mentioned of like game just comes out and sort of quietly disappears. Because, this is all really important and we'll sort of talk more through this. But over communicate with people and your platform. In our case, let us know when new builds are ready. Touch base with us. Like I can't think of really, like I'm never annoyed with that when developers whose games I'm working with on like, give me status updates. I always love to know where games are, and again, it helps keep them top of mind. But also, as far as being open to changing it, like if you have your heart set on releasing like pretty much now, like this time of year on consoles, it's pretty much a bad idea. Like even if you're saying, I have to release my game to start making money, well, if you release right now and you're an indie game, more than likely you're not going to make money because all the AAA games are coming out. It's really hard to fight for mindshare from the press and also fight for merchandising space on the various storefronts, like banners and all that. Like, it's just a difficult time of year, so I don't really buy that argument in a lot of cases because you're not going to make money if you need to. But if you wait a couple months and we can see the whole landscape, so we can give you feedback on when a good time to release is. More than likely, you'll set yourself up for success better, and you'll actually make money in the long term. So just talk with us. Be open to that stuff. Again, you're the publisher on PlayStation and most platforms, so you control that stuff. But it's worth your while just being aware of the sort of high-level view that we have. And also, I think, as far as having a plan and different things for different games, some games make sense to live stream your development. That's worked really well for like Salt and Sanctuary and Nuclear Throne, and especially if you're like in early access, you can keep driving people towards it. But some games also make sense to just like say nothing at all, and then suddenly it's out, and that can be exciting too, and that can cultivate great word of mouth. I'd say just either way, have a plan. Again, I think just working on the game until it's done and then figuring that out, by then it's usually way too late. So think about what may make sense for your game and just start early, even if you're not actually going to enact that plan until, a year or two down the road. Yeah, that's slide. I'm just looking at my notes. So, and, along those lines, I think making the game is half the job. Like, put equal effort into all these other elements that are important, like marketing and PR and everything else. Do your game justice. That's really important. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. This may come off as like sounding like a jerk thing to say, but like it's important. Like there is a lot of value in just being a creator and being an artist and making something amazing. And I think a lot of the things here in the arcade are really that. But I think you have to at least like dabble in these other areas. Like it's really important to your game, and even if it's overwhelming, like find someone else, find a friend, find an agency, spend a little bit of money. It's totally worth having these things. Finding press is important, traditional press and streamers, finding press all over the world, not just in the U.S. because you're in the U.S., because this is a whole other world who can buy your game, at least on most platforms you would release on. Take the time to make a nice homepage, use, Lambert's press kit. It's super helpful. Have a trailer online as early as possible so people can see what the game is. Like, lots of times I'll hear about a game and I'll go and look up online and there's, like, just the name of the game floating around, but no assets or anything. And it's really hard to get a sense of it, which, again, makes it hard for me to care about it early to help champion it and all that. So just, propagate that stuff early. If you have a demo build, try to get, like they have here, get it out there at events. I'm realizing even things as we're showing demos here, and we show demos everywhere, but there's things I think about every time that I just forget to set up for the next time. But like, get an attract mode in your demo, make it so it auto resets after 2 minutes of idling. All these little things like that really go a long way to just like making it a more frictionless experience of playing it. Yeah, I mean, some games just sell without doing anything, but those are really the anomaly. Every other successful game I can think of has really had to work for it. So putting in plans for all this stuff is really important. If you don't know anything about any of these elements, come talk to us afterwards. We don't know that much necessarily, but maybe we can connect you with someone who does. There's also folks like Dan Edelman now, who basically used to do our job at Nintendo, who's now sort of doing indie consulting stuff and has, his fingers in deep and experience in all these fields, and he can work with, folks. So not to push his services, but he's a great guy, and there's more and more people doing that sort of thing nowadays. So find someone like that if you really don't have the expertise to deal with this stuff. Also, I feel like I'm talking really fast, so sorry about that. This, I think, is just a reality of it, that there aren't inherent sales, even on console, right? Games don't just sell a minimum threshold. I mean, maybe there is some very minute minimum, but you have to find your audience. They're probably not going to find you. I think I just want to put this here as a reminder, you really, again, that thing of just making a game and then putting it out there, that's not a way to make a living and keep going and be able to make more games. You have to do all those holistic things to make it a success and put the work in, and really engage with your community as well, people who show interest in the game, because they're going to be your champions too, and you're going to seed out this whole world of champions who are going to help push the game on their side. This is basically talk to everyone / no one, make friends in the development community, in your local community, champion each other's games, but don't get caught up in that echo chamber of peers and press and events. Having a great local multiplayer game that shows really well at every event you take it to is awesome, and that speaks to the quality, but that doesn't translate to sales necessarily, right? I mean, that's a whole world of people who might not have heard about the game, but you still want to buy your game and check it out. And those people who played at events are hopefully going to be your evangelists, but that, you need to work on that other huge mysterious group of people, not just the people who've played it already and enjoyed it. Your Twitter followers aren't really the one you need to sell your game to. It's all the people who aren't following you. And actually, Supergiant Games gave me a great tip that said, every time someone asks when their games are coming out, like before Transistor came out, and now every time someone asks when, Bastion's coming out on Vita, which it's almost done, they always gather their email address, and the day it comes out, they just email everyone, and they're like, hey, it's actually out now, so you can make good on bugging us and go buy it now. So, I think that's a great idea. Just gather everyone's contact info and spam it out when the game's actually out, and put them on the spot to, make good on asking you about your game. This is sort of the last one, most importantly, I think. Make something that only you can make. And, by that I mean, this is what's going to make, publishers and platforms and everyone and fans, I think, personally take notice. If you're doing something very iterative or X meets Y formula, it can definitely sell, but I think it takes even more work in that case to make it stand out. And it might have to be best in class. If you're doing something that's pretty well-trodden ground, it had better be amazing if you want it to stand out. And this, I think, really speaks to a lot of the stuff here, like in the arcade, things that, clearly this is just someone's vision for their game that they've been thinking about long and hard, and they're the only ones who can make this, which is really refreshing for us to see. And you'd maybe think that, Sony or Microsoft or something were looking for very safe games and reliable experiences that are just sort of a spin on something else, but I don't think that's the case. I think what gets people excited and what wants to make them your champion is something they haven't seen before, because we see a whole lot of games. And if you're asking what we're looking for, which we get asked a lot, you're asking the wrong question, because we're, I guess maybe there's other parts of Sony, if we want to publish your game or something or some other relationship, but, even in that case, I'd say, we're not looking for anything. It's more about what are you making, and do we get excited about it? Does it fit in with what we're doing? Because that's what gets us excited about partnerships and everything else. So that's pretty much it. Again, I'd love feedback on those. Please come talk to me afterwards. Hopefully that was somewhat helpful. I'm happy to chat about any questions about that stuff, about our experience in those areas, or take any questions about the process side of things. And also, because I knew this talk was going to be pretty quick, I want to play some Thumper on the screen by special request, because it's going to be awesome. Yeah. So, questions about anything? Stuff to talk about?
Is there any sort of screening process that we have to worry about when applying?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, any sort of screening process you have to worry about when applying for PlayStation licensing. No, not really. I mean, I think, like I said, as long as you're a business entity and you can get a static IP address, that's the main thing. If you're coming in out of the blue and you just were to look at that portal with no context, it asks you for like your company background and what your plans are, which ideally you would provide, but you can keep that stuff like super high level. It's more so we know you're someone who intends to make a game and not like reverse engineer our SDK or something. Like it's really just a security thing, but not really. I mean, as long as you have somewhere you can like lock up a dev kit at night, that's about it. That's a great question. When in the development contact to contact us, how early is too early? There's never really a too early, I'd say, because there's other things like first-party Sony. Is Zach in here, by the way? Somewhere? Zach is back here. Zach Wood is in the back there. He's the one who requested Thumper, so thank you, Zach. We'll play that. But so Zach works on the first-party side at Sony Santa Monica, where Sony is actually publishing your game, which is sort of a different ball of wax, but equally interesting. That's like the Journeys of the World and What Remains of Edith Finch, which is out in the hall there. So I'd say they really want to see things early on. It's a lot more exciting if the game has like never been seen before. If we can, announce it on stage at E3, and that's the first time anyone sees it, that's pretty cool. When it's already been announced or in early access or something else, it gives us a bit less to work with in terms of different opportunities in the different parts of Sony. So talk to us about it early. Even if it's rough, like we'd rather see something rough and then say, okay, cool, it's rough right now, but let's see it again in a few months. I mean, we see really early stuff all the time, so I think we're pretty good at parsing like still sort of potential and early ideas or just talking about things even. So there isn't really a too early. There's certainly too late. It's usually too late, where it's like too late to talk about bigger opportunities. So, yeah. Back there?
How do PlayStation Plus partnerships typically come together with independent developers and Sony?
It's sort of just another one of those processes where I said there's different like co-marketing relationships and funding relationships, and plus it's sort of another angle, which I probably can't get into too much here, but come talk to me about it afterwards and we can talk a little more, and then if you get licensed and NDA'd, we can talk about it all day. But it's just sort of a different business arrangement, basically. Anyone else?
I have a question, Nick.
Oh my God, where's that
Where'd
coming
that
from?
voice come from? It's me up here, sorry.
Oh, hi. Hey, Adam.
I was wondering, so a weird thing that's happened in the last few months is this thing called Steam Spy,
Yeah.
where people can go just freak out forever. You can just look at all sorts of numbers and draw really weird, scary conclusions. But previously, like, platforms have had access to that stuff for a while, and people do kind of sometimes make decisions about, what's a hot genre that we can get behind or whatever. I don't know how much latitude you guys have to talk about stuff like that, but it's something that we talk to a lot of developers about, like, before you sit down and make a game and make a big commitment, make a big investment in it,
You mean sort of like feedback on what genres are doing well, that sort of thing?
Sort of, or is there something that that you guys have a really hard time getting behind as a commercial platform or something like that?
I have a hard time getting behind. Well, I think at a base level, again, it's more like we just want to be another platform to put your game on. So in that sense, it sort of doesn't matter what it is. If you want to make a game and you have the capacity and we can loan you a dev kit, and you publish the game, that's all fine. We don't need to inherently care about what the game is, which sounds weird. But I think for other relationships and sort of funding and co-marketing and exclusivity and all the sort of larger business relationships, then it does obviously depend what the game is. And, if we're funding it, are we going to recoup our investment and all that? That becomes more of a question. I'm trying to think. I mean, A lot of it too is honestly also just seeing the developer's capacity to do some of these things we're talking about and push their own game. I mean, in most of these situations we're talking about, again, we're not the publisher, even if we have a larger, deeper relationship. So we want to see that people have a plan and are willing to like put the work and do it themselves, so that we can like amplify the activities they're doing. So a lot of it is almost around that stuff too. It's not even so much about the game. Like even if you're making something weird and non-traditional that you wouldn't think would sell, if you are putting the right sort of effort into it, you are at least doing diligence to potentially get it out there in a bigger way, which maybe isn't a great answer, but it's a tough one. Yeah, Robin.
Follow up to your answer there. When you talk about wanting to see the developer think about their own publishing, thinking about how they're putting their game out there so that you can amplify that, can you tell me about how you amplify that, or how you see that relationship work?
Yeah, so that's things like I was talking about with the PlayStation blog, right? Where like instead of going and announcing a game yourself somewhere that you're bringing it to PS4, like instead of doing that, come talk to us so we can line up. We'll say, okay, write up a blog post, give it to us, give us a trailer, give us some screenshots and assets. We're going to say, okay, next Wednesday on 9 a.m., because it's a good empty spot, we're going to publish that post. That's when you go out with your announcement. So we're going to like go across all our channels as well, which again, I'll have tons of subscribers and views and stuff, and at least get it in front of our community. And hopefully it's just raising the profile of the game overall so that your sales benefit on other platforms as well, which, I mean, I think everyone wins in that scenario. So it's about sort of being in step with your activities. We're not necessarily going to just do something, out of nowhere like that because we don't know your game, we don't know what your schedule is, but we want to be there along those beats. So each time you have some big piece of news, we want to at least, ideally consider being a part of that to be that. I mean, we probably can't have the game on our blog every week, but each time you have a big news beat, if the previous posts were, had some good engagement and stuff, like we can totally keep doing that. But I mean, at the very least, we can certainly announce the game and then probably do like a launch post as well. But just things like that, I think all our basic, our social media channels, or at an event, right? If you're coming to PlayStation and you're showing somewhere and you want to show on hardware, we can probably like loan you a test kit like we're showing here to be there and loan you the stuff you need. So just like keep us abreast of your activities and then we can see how we can fit into it. Yes, right here. Does Sony have a presence in Austin? There, one member from our team actually does live here. He worked, I think, out of the SOE offices that I think are now the, what are they called, Daybreak offices. So there are some sort of scattered Sony folks here. His name is Bruno, and then a couple other dev support folks are local. So certainly if you want to have someone come check things out, like at other times of the year, we could arrange that. Yeah, or if this, I mean, one of us could fly down here potentially too if we need to. So, and we're in the Bay, or at least our team is in the Bay Area. So if you're up there for GDC or PlayStation Experience or anything, we can certainly chat. Anyone else? Any questions? Yes, right here.
Who makes the merchandising decisions for Sony? Is that something that you directly contribute to, or is that a separate team?
Yeah, well, so there is the storefront team who are sort of their own group, and they have obviously a lot of things to think about and figure out the lay of the land, both for new games and stuff that's been out and sales and all that. But we do certainly work with them pretty much every day. It's an ongoing conversation, and we, they're aware of our different priorities. Again, we have sort of a different set of priorities for games that we are formally partnered up with or have some vested interest in, again, like recouping sales on or something, or making good on co-marketing commitments. But even beyond that, still, every week it's just about like, well, what else is coming out? And that's also why I mentioned like having this dialogue of talking about when your game is coming out, and because we see, oh, okay, next week there's some huge AAA game launching with all the pieces of DLC, and that's just going to like eat up the sort of main most valuable real estate. Maybe let's wait a couple weeks and it'll be quieter. Maybe let's wait till January if you have the flexibility. So that's also why we want to have that dialogue, because then we need to have that dialogue internally. So it's a combination of a couple different folks and just sort of keeping priorities in mind. But a lot of it just comes down to that, that conversation, because the reality is now we have enough games coming out on PlayStation and few enough banners that some games, if we haven't had that conversation or that thing and your game's just sort of coming out and it's surprising us as well, it's hard to fight for it and get it out there. And worst case scenario, you release and you don't have any merchandising anywhere on the storefront, and that's, that's tough, and you sort of got to like stand on your own. But that's just how it happens sometimes if we haven't gotten out ahead of it. So in the back. That's not my decision, but I hope so. Max. Well, I'm sure we'll push it. Shall we play Thumper? Yeah. Zach, I think you need to come play Thumper because this is all for you. Although you're not going to be able to look at the screen, ironically, unless you want to like. Well, you can sit right there. You just can't sit back there. You got to sit close. Thank you for listening to my talk. And we're here for the rest of the show. And also, if you guys want to play any games you've seen out in the hallway, even that we had on like yesterday, just let us know because we're just rotating stuff out. So we have some cool stuff with us. And we also have N++ and Rocket League out there, which there are tournaments for this evening. How do people sign up for those?
It's usually right before the event itself. We'll have a sign-up sheet.
Okay. I think you have to sit like here, maybe. Unless you. The problem is you need to plug that. We need the headphone for sound. We need the headphone jack and the controller. So that's only like 6 feet of. You might be able to put a chair like there. There is a second monitor, so you need to look at the monitor, or you can try to sit like there and look up.
I'll see the monitor.
Okay. Everyone else will enjoy it. You just want.
Okay.
You can just play knowing that we're all getting blasted by the screen while you look at it on that tiny little thing.
Give the controller plugged in, so yeah, cool. Sweet.
It's way too quiet already.
Turn it up. Yeah, we're just gonna sit here until the volume's good enough.
We're gonna play until Zach has an aneurysm.
Yeah. That can't be.
And I'll be louder once you start playing.
I'm liking this. All right, let me not screw this
For
up.
dramatic silence before it starts.
Oh, the mics are hot. Yeah, it's weird.
So we can hear you breathing. Oh my god. Actually, yeah, headphone. boss's name is Crackhead.
I told you. Alright, I'll try one more time and then somebody else is going to have to come up and do this. Want to give it a go?
We'll try one.
Alright.
We're hopping in right at the hard part.
Yeah.
I can't hop right into it. Do you have any thumper experts in the house? Anyone want to try?
Where, is Ben Esposito in here? Where's Ben? Ben's good.
Man, brutal. So that's my talk.
Give me a high score.
Well, on this brand new system we just installed it on. And this is out in the lobby too, and in the arcade today as well. So that's coming from Drool next year, Thumper. So.
Got a little more time if anybody else wants to go.
Oh yeah, if anyone wants to play,
Big screen?
or other games. We just have
any
multiplayer games on here
requests?
mostly. Yeah, I have a USB stick in my pocket with a bunch of games. What would look cool up here? Game Beasts. Let's see what I got. That's a game that came out yesterday called Toto Temple Deluxe. It's like a 4-player game where you have to get a goat. That's pretty fun. Let's see. Oh, come on. Secrets. Oh, that's weird. It's not reading my USB stick. have other games we can play. Did anyone get the cookie trio, by the way? Wiley did. Thanks, Wiley. You're a true friend. Yeah, we can. Especially because that's not working. We need the other controllers. It's pretty fun. Oh, thank you. That's fine. I just need to sync them real quick. And 4:30 is the N++ tournament, right? So come back for that, folks. Anybody? Thanks. These are pretty far. Where are you sitting? We could try it. Probably. Here, take this one. It has the cord. Just ignore the cord. It's just locked on. You want to Okay. And then single player out there. Okay. So hit up and square when you got it. Someone hit the blue one and the green one. Anyone else want to play up here too? I played the game. You guys right in the front row? Maybe? Yeah. Square is dash. It's a double jump. You can dash in different directions. And you have the gut. You can shield. You pretty much just got the gut. And that's a power up in the corner. Someone should get that because they're pretty crazy. Nicely done, Blue. You guys want to play a round of Gang Beast? We could do that. I'm happy to chat afterwards more too. I'll be around. I'm happy to chat afterward too. I'll be around. Oh my god. There you go. Should start in a second. There's a really weird bug that we just discovered like yesterday where the red player gets his arm stuck on things. It's a feature. Thank you.
All right, everybody. First of all, a warm round of applause for our good friend Nick Sutner. And like he said, you can. He's here for a while longer, and you can certainly collar him in the hallway or in the bathroom or in the parking lot. Just sneak up behind him, put your hands over his eyes, and whisper, "I want to be on Sony." We're going to go ahead and clear out